Hello, welcome if you're new, welcome back if you are not. Today we are doing something a little bit different. I've kind of vlogged our entire house renovation process, but I've never really done a how-to. So this is my first one, and today we're going to be converting some old secondhand Ikea Pax wardrobes into these built-in wardrobes behind me. I want to start by saying, although the process did take a few days, it was so much more simple than we expected. And so if this is something that you are thinking of doing, I would highly encourage you to watch this video and definitely give it a go for yourself. As I said, almost everything that we used in terms of materials was secondhand, so I'd highly encourage you to go on Facebook Marketplace, eBay, Gumtree, and find some old furniture ready for some extra love. But to buy new, I will link everything we used below, as well as all the different primers, materials, handles, etc. And just before we jump into it, if you'd like to follow along for more how-tos as well as watching our house come together slowly but surely, please hit the subscribe button. We upload videos every single Wednesday, and if you'd like to follow this renovation a little bit more real time, be sure to follow me on Instagram at feedbyautumn, as we post what we're up to day on there as well. Okay, that was everything I had to say. Now let's get to step one. Because this is loft conversions, our ceilings aren't too tall, meaning that although downstairs in the lower floors bedrooms we will be able to get the 236 centimeter packs, in here we can only get the 201 centimeter packs. And what that has meant is that there's a pretty big gap between the top of the wardrobe and our ceiling. Now, the goal here is to make them look built in. When I started looking at some IKEA built-in hacks, one of the most effective ways of making them look built in was by having the skirting board running underneath. So, as you can see, we obviously can't put skirting board in front of a door. So we need to kind of raise the base of this so that the skirting board will end kind of beautifully under where the door opens. And so to do that, I just want to take a look at what this measurement is, this chunk, and then build a base that fits with that so that all of the wardrobes can kind of just lift that little bit. Now that is 8 centimeters. Now there's 8 centimeters between the bottom of the wardrobe door and the top of the skirting board, which obviously means that we need to shift the wardrobe up at least 8 centimeters. Now, if we go more than 8 centimeters, that's not a problem at all, because it just means that those wardrobes will be shifted up even higher, meaning the gap between the ceiling and the top of the wardrobe gets even less, making it seem even more seamless. So how do we shift those wardrobes up? And to do that, we've got to make a base. Now, to make a base, we're going to be using timber. We've got 4x2s here, and we're going to be using chipboard, and chipboard is 22 mil thick, or this chipboard is 22 mil thick. Meaning that when you put these two together, so you build the timber frame, and then you would set the chipboard on top as a base for the wardrobes, you've got 12.2 centimeters, meaning that we've got that 8 centimeters we needed plus 4.2 centimeters. The reason that we're using timber is because we've got offcuts, and the reason that we're using chipboard is because we've got loads of offcuts from when we lay the chipboard across the whole of the loft. So that's going to cost us nothing, which is great. Also, because we're raising the bottom by 12.2 and the gap between the top of the wardrobe and the ceiling was 26 centimeters, it means that we're just about to get that wardrobe pretty much halfway between the ceiling and the floor, which I think is going to look even more effective and make it look even more like a built-in wardrobe. Okay, so how big do you want your base? Basically, you want the base to be the same size as all of the frames put together, and you want the base to end before the door. So you want the depth of the frame, not the frame plus the door. Very important. So this one is 58 deep, as most Pax wardrobes are, and I know that they're 200s, 150, so 58 by 250 should be our base. Okay, now we're trying to keep upstairs clean, so let's go downstairs to chop. So just spent a little while hunting for wood that matches in size. These are all 2x4s, I think. But basically this piece here and that piece there are both 230, and that bit over there is exactly 40. So we're just going to chop that in half, attach it each to the end of these, and then we'll have our two lengths of 250 centimeters for the lengths of the wardrobe. And then we'll just find some more to make the ends, the 57 centimeters or 58 centimeters, and then a few more to kind of support along the way. So what you're gonna need for this, super long screws. Remember, it's 10 centimeters, so they need to be long enough. The impact driver, some timber, wood, whatever you're gonna use to make the base, and a measuring stick, which Tom likes to call
a tape measure.
A tape measure. Okay, so stage one's done. This is our base. So 2.5 meters long. We've put a bunch of noggins, which I keep incorrectly referring to as joists, down the middle, just obviously to increase the strength and allow stability, as well as additional places for the chipboard to be supported and screwed in. So now we lay down the chipboard, we screw that in, and we've got a nice thick base for the beginning of the wardrobes. Also, remember to mark where your joists are so that when the chipboard's on, you know where you can screw it in the middle. So we're really trying to make it work with the materials we already own, as to not spend any extra, but also avoid chucking any of the stuff away at the end of the renovation. So as you can see, we've got both OSB and chipboard. Doesn't really matter what you use, and it doesn't matter if you switch halfway, as long as they're the same thickness. Both of these are 18 mil, which was the thickness that we had enough of for the surface area. So we just went with 18 instead of the initially planned 22. The platform is now completely done. The OSB and chipboard are screwed in. And now comes the fun part. We can put the wardrobes onto the platform. And now that these are on top, I think they look really, really good. As you can see versus earlier, much less of a gap between the top of the wardrobe and the ceiling, which looks a lot more natural. And also I think it's just a lot grander, and it feels a lot bigger and much more fitting for the size of the room. It is a pretty small room to begin with, but with those 200 centimeter high wardrobes, they just kind of looked way too small for the room, or like they weren't, you know, they really didn't have their place. So that is the end of this step. We're now just gonna work on putting the wardrobes together or securing them next to one another. Now, if you buy your Ikea wardrobes new, they will actually come with this, but because we got most of our secondhand, we just picked up these wardrobe connectors. They're called interscrews, but if you Google male and female screws, they'll come up as well. We just got these from Screwfix. I think they were £3 for 10. Which is plenty to put 3 wardrobes together. So we're gonna do that now. And basically what that does is create a connection between the 2 wardrobes, which keeps it super tight, super flush, and will kind of, you know, stop any of the tops of the wardrobes being slightly misaligned. So the next plan of action is to get the doors done, and I don't want any more mess down here, and it's 15 degrees outside. So let's go outside. It feels like it's summer. Welcome to my workshop. So we filled, given that all a sand, and now I did look up and it turns out you don't actually have to sand the entire door. So we have just brought them all outside for almost no reason, but I'm using the Zinsser, I think it is, bin primer. This was one that everyone recommended and the one that people said you don't need to sand with, so that's a positive. Pretty quickly realized there was almost no point doing this outside, so we brought them inside, given them a second coat of primer, and now we get cracking on the cover. This is the color that we've gone for. It is this one here, drop cloth, Farrow & Ball, but again, we've done a Valspar mix. It's a bit of a greyish, definitely some grey inside of it.
So casually keep diving into concrete, so bittersweet.
It's a couple of days later. This is currently what the wardrobe doors are looking like. Definitely needs a second coat, but loving the color. I'm just kind of looking at it with the handles we've chosen, and I think that kind of long black handle against the greyish sort of color is going to look amazing. You can see a little bit of areas where my filling definitely left a lot to be desired, but I'm hoping that the handle will just cover that and it won't be too obvious. Okay, second coat is done and dry. Didn't bother filming that because you saw me do the first coat yesterday, but we just went over that once again. And then we moved on to getting the skirting board at the bottom of the wardrobes. So to get the skirting board, all we basically did was used one part, put it on the other, and then lined it with a pencil to understand the shape that we needed to cut. Not sure if this is the right way to do it, but we gave it a go and it's pretty much worked. And then by drawing the pencil, that is basically then just the stencil that you need to cut out on the other piece. So we've done that over there. Obviously it does need some filling, all skirting board does, but that's the best we could do. And then we've brought it all along the bottom of the wardrobes. We have taken a big chunk out there, but we'll just fill it and repaint it. And again, it needs a clean, it's very dirty, but it is now installed all the way until the end. We attached the skirting board to the wardrobe with this grab adhesive, and then we have just added a block and drilled it into the floor so that it holds into place while that dries. Alternatively, you could screw into the wood, but again, then you need to fill and paint, and we can't be bothered, so there we go. What I then also did was just paint all down here and the side of the wardrobe with the same color paint as the paint that I painted the wardrobe doors. That is because we've shifted all of the wardrobes up to the side instead of having a gap either side in order to make the most of the space. So we're basically shifting the wardrobe over and doing shelves over there. So we're just gonna make some battens, drill the shelves in. I'll paint all of those with the same paint color as well, but just to get the walls prepped and keep it clean and make it look as seamless as possible, I did that. Now, onto handles. So these are the handles that we've got for just cheap and cheerful from Ikea. But I think the effect of the long dark handles against the color of the wardrobes is going to look really, really good. So now I've just marked and measured exactly where I need to put the handles in. The way that these handles work is that you drill a hole first and then you kind of screw them in from the back. So by just understanding exactly where I want them on every single one, I can just go now and make all of the different holes. So how these shelves are going to work. I've thought really, really long and hard about these shelves. Initially, I was going to remove the architrave. Well, you can see I kind of have removed the architrave altogether so that the shelves could come right to the front here, so it would look super flush. But that actually just leads to a whole lot more work because then I'd have to work out, you know, what happens from the front of here to the door. Yeah, it's just a little bit messy. And then I was absolutely set on floating shelves. So I would need to create kind of brackets on the sides and back and then the front. And I need to put MDF on top and MDF on the bottom, MDF on the front, fill it all in. We are going for simplicity right now, especially because this is such a tiny area of the overall wardrobes and it's behind the door. So you never see it, it's barely going to get used, and it's literally for stuff like my gel nail polish kit or random accessories that I never use, but they're important for, like, you know, gloves, scarves, that sort of stuff. So the plan instead is that we're just going to get little pieces of wood and create almost brackets. So we're going to drill them into the side of the wardrobe and the side of the wall. And then we've got some old Pax shelves from secondhand wardrobes that we've bought, and we're just going to chop those shelves to size and then just rest them on top of the brackets. Now the shelves and the brackets are all going to be painted the same color as the wall. So although as you reach the higher shelves, you are going to see the brackets below, I don't think it's going to look that bad. We're currently using this picture of the room at the time to try and work out where this joist is. Okay, so for the first one, I just made a base underneath that kind of lifts that shelf up to basically just here, and that fits. We will paint all of this, but there is shelf one. The reason there's a gap there is because a Pax wardrobe is 57 deep, and this is 58 or 59 deep, but it's fine. Okay, we have measured and chopped all of our next bits. We've also got the battens or batons, whatever you call them, in my new industry of carpentry. So now one side is screwed in. We're just adding the spirit level to understand where the back should be screwed in as well. Now we've done that one, on this side, we're actually going to be drilling through the wardrobe into there, mainly so that nails and stuff aren't sticking out on the clothes side and, you know, it'll snag on clothes and ruin them. But because we're using, I think, 60 mil screws here, but 40 mil screws there, which is the exact width of the wardrobe in the wood, we're making 3 holes instead of 2 on the side, just for more support. To know where to drill, Tom's just drilled from this side in. He's made 3 little marks there, there, and there to indicate where he should be screwing that way. And there we go, we have our first shelf. Let's just get this. Beautiful. And
I feel like we've got to get the spirit level on it. Just to make sure.
I didn't want to do that.
I'm confident it's straight.
Look
it's pretty
at
straight.
that. I mean, I'm going to take that. I've never built a shelf in my entire life.
It's in between the 2 lines,
yeah,
just.
That's straight, that's straight.
So, but we'll get back on the next go.
And there you go. All of the shelves are now up. We've left a bigger one at the bottom. I mean, I think usually there's a bigger one at the bottom, but just in case we wanted to stack some stuff that was a little bit heavier. So we wrapped up pretty late last night, but it is the next morning. What I'm going to do now is just prime and paint every single one of the shelves, as well as the little supports in here. The supports are obviously screwed to the wall, so I will prime them against the wall, but the shelves I'll take off just so we can paint them a lot more easily and there's no awkward angles. You saw me do this with the doors, and obviously it was my own mistake that I didn't do them all in one go, so I'm not gonna make you watch this again, but that's basically it for the shelves. You paint and then you glue them down when they're all done, and then it's assembly time and the wardrobe is ready to go. Now, because we've been working in here the last few days, naturally it's dirty, so I'm just gonna give these a quick clean and then we can get the doors on. And then we obviously need a blind, but the very finishing touches for all of this, what I didn't actually film was after we glued the skirting board against the wardrobe, I went in and I caulked it just to obviously fill up the gap and make it look super, super seamless. And then after that it dried, because I made a little bit of a mess with the caulk, I just went in with an edging brush and the wardrobe paint and just kind of made my way down the bottom of the wardrobe to make sure it looked super seamless. It's looking pretty good right now. I'm happy with that. It needs to dry and it will look a lot better, but it was never going to be perfect. Those kind of finer details are never my strong point, but I think with the wardrobe shut, it's barely noticeable and I think it looks relatively good. While that dries, what I'm now doing is just going all over the wardrobe doors,
the ones that I have already put up. And any bit that's flaked off, or white bits or bits that look like they could have a little bit of a third coat, I'm just going back in with this brush and doing now. Trying to step back as much as possible to give you the grand reveal, but there we go. As you can see, much smaller gap at the top. We did think about closing it up, but I actually don't think we need to at all. I think the wardrobes look so smart and so good. I think they literally looked white or just off-white when we painted them, but now it's offset against the wall and the skirting. I think it's such a nice color. Just going all the way down there, making the most of the space. This one doesn't have a handle because Ikea was sold out, but we are going to get a handle for that. And then here are our little shelves down the side. Now, as you can see, they're pretty dark. They do look a lot better in the daytime, but I think we're just gonna get some LED lights inside there, and then we're gonna plug them in just over there so that it's a little bit more lit up. I also think the black boxes aren't helping. I think I might switch those out for something much lighter, and a little bit more noticeable. Obviously you still need to do the architrave there, but we have to wait for our carpenter to come back. So if you were interested at all in how these wardrobes are going to work, this one here is going to be my wardrobe. This one here is gonna kind of be mine, kind of be a mix. And this one here is going to be Tom's, and I'll talk you through what we're each doing. So for mine, I have got just a bar going across the top. This is obviously just all going to be hanging storage. Up there has space for 6 of these. So these are just some Ikea storage baskets. I love the fact that you can put them on their side and fit more. I also love the fact that you can see what's inside. So that is just my bikinis and costumes and swimwear up there, but I'll be filling it with loads of different stuff. Hats, scarves, gloves, just stuff that I kind of grab, but not that often. And then I've got a couple of drawers down here, either gonna be for shoes or knitwear, and like jumpers. I've not decided yet. Maybe my shoes will end up on there, but we'll see. That is it for this one. Now moving on to this one that doesn't yet have a handle. So this has a hanger right at the top. So this is what I'll be using for all of my full length dresses, or anything, you know, really long skirts, that sort of stuff. But at the bottom, we are going to have this. Now, it's a little bit messy down here, but once we've emptied out the bottom there, this effectively fits perfectly in half the wardrobe, and it goes perfectly back. So we're gonna have our wash basket in there, and then also just leaned up against the side, we're going to have our ironing board, or alternatively, if I need more space than I expect, the ironing board is just gonna be slotted in at the top. I have checked, it's narrow enough that you won't see it. That's very important to me. And then for Tom's wardrobe, we've done something completely different, but I think it makes perfect sense for him. And we've just done nothing at all at the bottom, and we've just got 2 hangers. So we've got one at the top, one about halfway down, and that is literally just going to be for tops and for bottoms. So much easier for guys. We don't have like space for coats or anything like that because we're going to have a coat cupboard downstairs at the entrance of the house. So not going to keep any coats or that sort of stuff up here, and our everyday shoes will stay downstairs as well. So don't need like a huge amount of big bulky storage, hence just the one full length hanger in here. But yeah, overall just so happy with them. I think they look really good. They look really smart. I think you can barely tell they're Ikea wardrobes, if I'm honest. Not that that matters, but I love the color, I love the handles. I think it's gonna go so well in the room. I love that they're still quite neutral, like they're not mega dark, but they definitely just add a little bit of interest to the room. And although it's not the neatest or best shelving in the world, I also love that we have made use of that space rather than just bringing them in the middle and boxing them out. We've got storage for loads of different things. Like I'm gonna have a mirror here in this corner of the room, but I'm not gonna have a proper dressing table, so it'll be perfect for hair stuff and makeup stuff that I can just chuck down the side. Yeah. Anyway, I'm so happy with it. I can honestly say, although it's a pretty long job, it did take us a fair few days. It definitely wasn't nearly as complex as I thought it was going to be, so I'd highly encourage you to give it a go if you are thinking of doing a little Ikea Pax wardrobe hack. And if you are thinking of doing it, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know if some of you found this helpful, and if you do it and you post on YouTube or Instagram, I'd love to see it as well, so please do let me know. That is it for this week. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. We upload videos every single Wednesday, so if you would like to see a little bit more of the renovation and not just some cupboards, hit the subscribe button. The next couple of videos will be us decorating these rooms and finally moving upstairs. I cannot wait for the next social event when I get to come in here and get ready in this room. I just feeling so happy at the moment. So that is everything for this week. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.